Could Kansas really be a college football playoff contender in 2024? With this easy of a schedule, the answer is absolutely. The Jayhawks come in at number 18 in our way too early top 25. Lance Leipold is building something special in Lawrence. You better not be sleeping on the Jayhawks in 2024. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. Tons of exclusive content over there to help you get through this offseason. Of course, becoming your go-to site in the regular season. College football never dies, never ends here at our channel. We want you to become a part of something special and become a member of our GE Nation. So let's dive into Kansas, guys. This is a fun team. I mean, it's really been fun to watch the rise of Kansas football, at least the return of Kansas football. The laughingstock of college football for so many years. Lance Leipold has slowly built this team back up. Kind of a mediocre year one. Gets to a bowl game the next year. Last year wins 9 games with the Jayhawks. 9-4 with a bowl win over UNLV. They lost to Texas, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Kansas State last year. That was it. Those last 3 losses came by a combined 14 points. The Jayhawks were much closer and much better than maybe people realize. And let's keep in mind, they did the majority of last year without their star quarterback, Jalen Daniels, who just never really could get over his injury. If he's back fully healthy, and he is coming back this year, if he can stay healthy, he's got one of the better running backs in the country in Devin Neal at his disposal. His top wide receivers are returning. The defense continues to trend in the right direction. This is a Kansas team in a wide-open Big 12 that has a shot to contend for a spot in the new 12-team playoff, and I wholeheartedly believe that. You take a look at the Kansas schedule, guys. We said it was easy, and it is. Look at this first off. They avoid Oklahoma State. They avoid Utah, the newcomer. They avoid UCF. Oklahoma State and Utah, you could argue, are the 2 top contenders in the Big 12. But overall, this is a pretty wide-open conference. Oklahoma's gone. Texas is gone. There really is no clear front-runner. Although the Cowboys were the Big 12 runner-up last year, they do return a lot. Utah, always a very tough out. So I would argue those are the top 2 teams. Kansas avoids both of them on this schedule. They avoid UCF and what could be a dangerous offense down in Orlando. You take a look at the schedule as a whole. A couple things to note before we dive deeper into it. First off, none of these are true home games for Kansas. That's the unfortunate thing. Kansas undergoing stadium renovations. Going to be absolutely beautiful when it's done. But all of their games will be played at the Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, except for the game against Lindenwood and the game against UNLV, a guaranteed rate bowl rematch. Both those games will be played at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City. So no true home games for Kansas, but close enough. Another thing that really stuck out to me, and I think it's absolutely absurd, you look at the Kansas schedule. They do not have consecutive home games at all this year. They alternate home and away games all year long. They have a couple bye weeks in there to break it up, but they do not play consecutive road games, do not play consecutive home games, and that is mind-blowing to me. That is absolutely mind-boggling to me that does not happen. I think it's kind of wrong, actually. I mean, better than having to play consecutive road games at any point in the year, but no consecutive home games, no consecutive road games is a very weird situation for the Jayhawks. But you take a little bit of a deeper dive here. I think you could argue Kansas will be 3-0 after their first 3 games. I think anything less than that would be disappointing. Again, we're not here to predict the Jayhawks' schedule right now. That will come here in a few months. All the more reason to subscribe. Hit that notification button so you don't miss out on that video. But Lindenwood should be a win. They beat UNLV in the bowl game last year. Kansas stronger, I believe, than they were last year. They beat them 49-36. Should win that game. At Illinois, a road game against a Big Ten opponent. Not going to be easy. They beat the Fighting Illini 34-23 in Kansas last year. Fighting Illini just up and down, wildly inconsistent. Doesn't really have the offense, I think, to hang with Kansas. So if they can win that game, they should be 3-0 heading in to conference play. Those first 3 conference games are not easy by any means, but they could be worse. West Virginia, I think, is the toughest one. TCU was a disappointment last year. Arizona State was bad last year in the Pac-12. Going to have to really find some sort of identity in year 2 under Kenny Dillingham. I really think, I'll look at Kansas' schedule here. Before their first bye week, anything less than 4-2 would be a disappointment. I think you've got to be 4-2 if you're Kansas, at the worst, going into that bye week. Obviously, 6-0 or 5-1 would be phenomenal. But I think a 3-0 start is very, very probable. I think they can beat TCU at home, which means all you've got to do now is just split one of the road games at West Virginia, at Arizona State. I think they might be slight underdogs at West Virginia, probably favored against the Sun Devils. 5-1, 6-0, phenomenal. 4-2 at the worst heading into the bye week. Coming out of that bye week, that's where they enter their key stretch of the year, especially if they get off to a strong start in the first half of the season. If they're 5-1, if they're 6-0, whatever they may be, this key stretch is going to define their season. You come out of the bye week and you take on Houston. New coach, new schemes. Willie Fritz coming to Houston from Tulane. It's going to be a big change for the Cougars. Willie Fritz, as we always say, he's a program builder. I don't think he's going to come into Houston and immediately make them Big 12 title contenders, but he will get them there in time. But Kansas, off that week of rest, a Houston team with a lot of questions, you would expect Kansas to be favored. At Kansas State, going to be a very tough game. They lost to the Wildcats 31-27 last year with a phenomenal game. The Wildcats, though, have pretty much dominated and owned the Jayhawks in this rivalry series for almost the last 2 decades. So now you got to go to Manhattan, a Kansas State team that is very, very good defensively. They got Avery Johnson and a solid running back core. Going to be a tough offense to stop. Should be a close, competitive game. Maybe high scoring. They can win that game. Watch out. Because you come out of the bye week, Iowa State at BYU. They won both those games last year. They beat Iowa State 28-21. They beat BYU 38-27. Iowa State, though, no slouch. One of the top defenses in the country. One of the top defenses in the Big 12 last year. They've got both sides of the ball, offense and defense, playing tons and tons of talent. And I never want to doubt Matt Campbell. Getting that game at home, huge for the Jayhawks. Getting that over a week of rest is huge. But do not underestimate Iowa State. And then BYU and Provo. That's always a tough place to play, too. BYU, to me, is another team in the Big 12 that I don't really know what to expect from this year. You know, they were up and down last year in their first year in the conference. I would expect them to be a little bit better, but do they have the talent, the size, the speed to keep up with Kansas, who beat the Cougars 38-27 in Lawrence last season? So that key stretch, guys, is right there. I mean, I think their toughest 2 games are Kansas State and Iowa State. And that 4-game stretch we just mentioned, Kansas State and Iowa State are by far their toughest games. If they do beat Houston and they do beat BYU, I think if you split Kansas State and Iowa State, that's a win. That's a win because your final 2 games are against Colorado, a Big 12 rivalry renewed. Colorado, Big 12 to the Pac-12, now back to the Big 12. Get to take on Coach Prime on senior day for Kansas. Colorado, if they can't fix their defense, Kansas will literally run all over them on November 23rd. And they go on the road to Baylor, who has been struggling. They've been on a downhill slope under Dave Aranda. Had they been on the decline since they won the Big 12 a few years ago? Can the Bears find their way back? We're not sure, but once again, I would expect Kansas to be favored in that game. All in all, guys, I'm looking at this schedule. I'm looking at the talent Kansas has coming back, the excitement surrounding Kansas football. This is a schedule good enough for the Jayhawks to win 9 regular season games. I truly believe that. I'm not here predicting they're going to go 9-3 or better yet. We're going to predict them in a couple months, right? But I'm looking at the talent. I'm looking at the schedule. There really aren't that many difficult games. Their most difficult games on the schedule right now are at West Virginia, at Kansas State, and Iowa State. Those are the 3 toughest games, I think, on the Jayhawks schedule right now. I'm not saying they're going to take care of business in all the other games, but I do think Kansas can win 9 games, meaning if they pull off an upset or 2, they will find themselves in Big 12 title contention, and if they find themselves in that spot in late November, they will find themselves in the hunt for the 12-team college football playoff. We're not jumping to conclusions here, but watch out. Something special is brewing in Lawrence. Something special that we have not seen since like 2007, back when Kansas was just a few games away, a few plays away from maybe playing in the national championship game. Lance Leipold is doing some very special stuff here, and this has an opportunity to be a season for the ages for the Kansas Jayhawks. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. Do not miss out on that exclusive content over there, guys, where you can become a member of our GE Nation. You do not want to miss out on everything we have coming over the next few months. Again, go check it out. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss out on anything else coming your way. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.